welcome to Spotlight Sunday. I'm TinaGale, and you can find me on my YouTube channel at Tigger's Teachin' and on my blog and website at My Scrappy Ideas. So I'm so excited to be a part of the Crafty Maven Getaway channel, and so excited to be here today to just introduce you to me and let you know a little bit about me behind the scenes and not just my process layouts. So I am the youngest of 6 children, and I'm a little bit spoilt, and I always say that when you're the youngest of 6, you have every right to be spoilt, so I stand by that. I am married to a wonderful man, been married for 29 years. He absolutely supports everything that I do and every crazy idea that I have. He's just my biggest fan. We have 2 children. They just turned 25 and 21 at the beginning of this month, and they are my twins from God, 4 years apart. They are born on the same day, but I always tell everybody that God knew I couldn't handle them at the same time, and so He spaced them out for me. But they are just like twins. They are both working in Walt Disney World right now, and so that's been quite the adjustment for me in the last year to admit that I have 2 adult children and to figure out how to be the parent of adult children. They're absolutely fabulous, but I tell them that nobody prepared me for how to be the mom of an adult child, and I'm not really taking to it all that well and just not really fond of it, And I say that in complete jesting and joking. I love my kids. I love spending time with them, but it is really hard being this far away from them. We live in a small rural community. We live out in the country. And so growing up, I grew up in a really creative family, but I can't say that there was really one thing that I really excelled at or really loved. My mother taught me how to sew. I've made a quilt and learned how to crochet and did all that. And while I can do them, they're not anything that I enjoy greatly or anything that I excel at really well. But one thing that she did when we were smaller was she put together a scrapbook for each one of us, and now it's not anything like we do today, but it had a huge impact on me. And she started out by just doing a page for each one of my siblings, and she put our school photos starting from 1st grade to the senior year. And then after each one of us had our page, then she just kind of put in photos randomly, as she came across them or whatever, and she split them up into our albums. And I can remember looking through that album several times and just enjoying it so much. And so I think that was my first exposure and first realization of how much I loved that. And so when I became junior high school, I even added photos that I had from my prom and different things like that into my album, and I kind of kept that up. And when I was 15, she bought me a scrapbook album that I started just putting in everything that I came across: ticket stubs, movie stubs, cards from friends and letters that I had received from friends. But one thing that I knew in her album that was missing was some journaling, and I always wanted to know stories behind some of these photos. And so in my scrapbook, I added, I just wrote things down underneath things that I was putting in. And as you can tell, I used like Scotch tape. That was probably all that I had. It's not a great idea. This is falling apart. But it is so special to me, and I ran across it the other day, and I wanted to include it in here because it was a huge part in how just realizing at a young age that the photos meant a lot to me, the stories meant a lot to me. And so I saved a little bit of everything. I even have newspapers here from when my wedding announcement had went in before our wedding and then after our wedding, and I saved the entire newspaper. And it's so cool to go back because then we can read what was happening in our town. We have the grocery sale ad with all of the prices, which, is just ridiculous how cheap things were. And so that was one step. And then after I got married, I continued to put things in here, but it wasn't really something that I was doing regularly. I did get into decorative painting, and I did that for a while, and I learned how to do oil paintings, and that is still a huge passion. So other than scrapbooking, I would say that painting is my other love, and I hope someday to return to that. And I really, really enjoy decorative painting. In 2004, I started getting more serious about scrapbooking. I had piddled a little bit, but I really didn't know what I was doing, and I was struggling a lot. But we were going through the process of trying to adopt 2 children, and so a friend of mine that did Creative Memories, she talked me through it, and I hunted out all of the photos that I wanted. I organized them in the way that I wanted it in the album, the stories that I wanted to tell. So I bought a little album, and she came over with some of her supplies, and she helped me put it all together. And you'll see a big Creative Memories influence throughout the album, but I absolutely cherish this album. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and if I never created another album again, I would be satisfied, because this album did everything that I wanted it to do. It introduced the reader, and I was doing this for the 2 children that we were working on adopting, to introduce them to our family. And so my goal was to just do a page each, one for my husband, to just tell about his life from childhood to adulthood, and then the same for myself, and then the same for each one of my children, and then introduce them to the grandparents and extended family, where we lived, how we spent our time. And so this album did all of that. And so this was a huge turning point for me to get me on the road to scrapbooking. And so I would say from there on out, it just kind of took off. And so that is when I started my blog. And my blog started primarily just for me, just to document what I was doing. I could store photos of my layouts, and I could go back and I could look at the progress that I made. And it was a huge help to me in the early days. I would go back at the end of the year, or sometimes 6 months or something, and just look to see what I had done. And I was just amazed at the pages that I had accomplished, and the growth that I was experiencing as I would get each one done. I would learn something else. And so I was really getting into watching YouTube videos and learning so much from all of the scrapbookers out there that were doing process videos, and just learning techniques and about products and all of that. And so the YouTube community had a huge impact on my growth as a scrapbooker as well. And so kind of as an extension of my blog, I got to where I was doing just a few little videos sporadically. So I've had my YouTube channel for quite a few years, but I only had a few videos up a long time ago, because it was mainly in response to questions that I would get from my blog, or projects that I had put up or something. And so all of that experience on YouTube, watching other people do their process videos and other people sharing, made me want to do the same and to help someone else along like they had helped me. And one of the most rewarding things for me is to get a new person that either has never scrapbooked or has just started, that doesn't really know anything, that's just hungry for knowledge. And I love to share with them and to guide them and to just encourage them that they don't have to know everything. They don't have to have design skills and all of that. They can scrap. If it makes them happy, then do it. And so that's kind of where my YouTube channel came from, how it's developed and grown, and where it's at today. So let me take you on a quick little tour around my room and just show you a little bit of it. I will be sharing a lot more in depth very soon. I hope. I'm going through a purge and reorganization right now with the help of a friend. And so hopefully really, really soon there'll be an in-depth video. But here's just a quick look around my room and kind of where I create. And now I was going to walk you through some of my more recent layouts, kind of how I developed, or would show a little bit more of how I developed. I mainly started out doing double page layouts in the beginning. It's not until the last year or 2 years that I've done more single page layouts. So I have so many photos and I think it was because when I was growing up we didn't have very many, and so now I just take tons and tons of photos. And so usually I have enough photos that I need 2 pages to get them all done. And we are a Disney family, like I said previously, and so a lot of them are trips, and so therefore I need double page layouts. So this is one that I did recently. I love hand stitching now, and so this has hand stitching on it. So that's a look at a double page layout. And then Simple Stories is another love that I have, and I started out with Cricut, and now I have a Cricut and a Silhouette Cameo, and so I love doing die cuts for titles and even these little sunglasses, and so that definitely was kind of my next progression, was getting into digital die cuts and adding to my pages. And then, like I said in my album, journaling was a huge part, and so the further I got into this, the more that I started realizing I needed to add more stories and more deep stories, things that I wanted my children to know. And so this is a layout that I did sometime last year, I believe, with the Simple Stories I Am collection. And I tried to just add words that described me. And then each one of these little envelopes hold journaling about different parts of my life. And so I think it's really important to get your stories down. And so that was another little step in my journey. And then this is another layout that kind of pulls it all together. This is just documenting the first day of work for my daughter. It has digital die cuts from my machine. It also is from Close to My Heart. And so it's been 5 years now that I signed up with Close to My Heart. I really didn't have intentions of selling Close to My Heart. I got into it so because of the Cricut cartridges. I love them. They are just like the best cartridges out there. With those cartridges, you really don't need anything else. So that's kind of what got me in. But I love their paper and their embellishments. The embellishments from Close to My Heart right now, they're just rocking it. So I love it. And then this is one of my latest layouts and one that I absolutely love. I adore the colors. This just really, I don't know, it just screams me. It's the pink and the teals and the florals and kind of the distressed antique-y look. My daughter, she had sent me these pictures, and I just thought they were so cute, and I sat down and I scrapped them immediately because it just, all of the colors just matched perfectly with that collection, and it was just so fun. And so that's the quickest I've ever scrapbooked photos, and that was just another reason why I chose to kind of feature this one. And again, I have the die cut title that I did on my Cricut machine. So I hope you enjoyed a look at the layouts that I tried to pick to show some examples of the progressions that I made as a scrapbooker, and a look at my past as a child and kind of where I've come from to where I am today, and I look at my life, my room. I hope you'll be back on my YouTube channel when I get my room completely finished, and I'll do an in-depth room tour for you. And again, thanks so much for stopping by at the Crafty Maven Getaway. And I've enjoyed this Spotlight Sunday, and I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about me, and will check out my YouTube channel at Tigger's Teachin'. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.